Okie dokie. We are live. My name is Dr. Charnell Wolverton Sehan. I am with Swiftfire International, and this is True TV, meaning we tell the truth. Yay! Go figure. I love media that actually is for truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. I'm so excited. We have an amazing panel here today. I've been waiting for this for a while, and I know you guys are gonna really enjoy meeting each of these people. Some of them know each other and some of them don't. They're brand new to each other. I've had all of them on and I'm dear friends with all of them. I love them so much. I'm so excited. Can you tell? But I would love to hear where you all in Chatville are from. And it looks like we got a lot of people already popped on. So please tell me where you are from, what city, state, country, where you're at. And the topic for today is about the divine energies on the planet right now and just the role of the women in this time and in this season. So before we get started, please go to swiftfire.org and get on the newsletter. I just had another one of my videos taken down last night. So I have a strike on YouTube. That's, anyway, all of us have had our channels taken down one time or another for being honest. And so the best way to find me and all the things that I don't really get to talk about honestly, as much as I like to, is in full disclosure, is on my website, swiftfire.org. So if you get on that newsletter, you're going to see the blogs that you're not going to hear about on any of these platforms. You're going to see the articles there too, and some of the doctors that I've interviewed, people that I'm interviewed, disclosure information, that kind of stuff. So go to swiftfire.org, get on there. And with all love, I would love for each one of you to just give me a few minutes each, a couple minutes. We have a little bit of an hour or so here to talk, but for introduction purposes, I'd love to hear from each of you just a little bit on your background, who you are, where you got, how you got here, well, not how you got here, but you know what I mean, what you're doing, and your service here in humanity. Start with Rani.
Hey, I am Rani from New Zealand. Did I just disappear?
Oh, I see you.
Okay. Rani from the beautiful Northland, New Zealand. And I live here with my family, my husband, our 3 children, and we have 3 cats as well, and a dog, and some alpacas and goats. So we're living a little bit of getting back to the land kind of life. And how I got here on this journey, I was a school teacher when I came out of school. I studied as a primary school teacher, and then we were actually pastoring when we were having our children. So we were pastoring a small church here in our local community, and then we moved on, and I studied to become a naturopath. So that's brought me to this point, and because of how much naturopathy opened up my world and my understanding, and I started working with clients and just seeing so much more how it's on the soul level where, the imbalance is happening. I've shifted from specifically naturopathy into empowerment coaching because it's truly naturopathy for the soul. So that's what's brought me on this journey. My connection with Dr. Charnell started about 6 years ago when I was just seeking truth, which is why this is awesome, Truth TV. I was seeking truth, and God was talking to me about frequency and energy, and she was talking about it. And so she was talking about frequency, energy, essential oils, and I'm like, I need to hook up with this lady and all the prophetic stuff she was sharing. So that really springboarded my journey into studying to be a naturopath, and here we are today.
Awesome. And I got the joy of going to visit her in New Zealand, and we met Gary Young over there, and she's been to the States here in Florida with me. So and she is dear. All of you are dear to my heart. Sometimes when people do online things, I think people don't realize that we actually hang out sometimes. We know each other. It's not just an online thing, although there are lots of online people. I haven't met Elena in real life yet. But Rani and we go way back. So, and Leslie, oh my God, I've known her since she was a teenager.
A little older, close enough. We'll go with that.
Ish, yes. And so, tell us a little bit, Leslie. Give us some of your background.
I'm from the South in the United States, and I was raised in a traditional home, and a traditional Christian home, and I've always loved God and just been incredibly spiritually inclined. And as I got older, I'm a wedding photographer, and over the past couple of years, I've been switching into energetic alignment coaching and empowerment coaching. And I've studied human design, and so we're working with that a lot, and just kind of helping people understand their energy. Kind of like what Rani was said, because everything's on that soul level. And so for me, I kind of tell my private clients in the coaching sector, it's like you're already that light. Sometimes we just put blankets on top, and we got to just take the blankets off, and to work in conjunction with someone that has that ability to help us kind of see ourselves. That's what I do. And I have 2 kids, and we live down right off the Gulf of Mexico. So the beach is kind of our playground. So that's what we do.
Awesome. Yes, I love it. I love it. And she does a lot. She's done my human design. She's about to do my kids this weekend. And I'm all about the beach too. She also did the photography for my project with my cards. She did all my cards and took all the beautiful crystal pictures. She's way into crystals like we are. So, all right, Laura, my bestie, how you doing?
I'm good. Great to be here with all of you. And yes, it's just awesome to meet new people, and really cool that you guys go so far back. And yeah, so a little bit about me. Well, I've definitely known Dr. Charnell for a while, and we have this Montana connection. She was raised here in Montana, which is where I live now. And yeah, I've just been a public speaker for the last 10 years. I focus on just research, paying attention to whistleblower testimony, and just my own experiences and downloads that have come in. I'd like to use the term Global Alchemist because I do believe that we can turn the lead of this human experience into gold. So I've studied a lot of galactic history, exopolitical kind of subjects. And I have a strong goal and mission to help us to be freed from the holographic time loop. I talk a lot about Venus transits, Earth grids, global alchemy, DNA and ET races, and just wanting to really shed light on what our true potential is, and understanding that junk DNA is not junk, and it's made of higher harmonic universes and the template of hierogamic union, and just how this is such a huge, important thing to discover in these times that are quite sabotaging. Also, I'm the great-granddaughter of Dwight David Eisenhower. I've been trying to bring a lot of light to things that took place in his administration that were held in secrecy, and that kind of what has connected me with Elena. And I know she'll talk about herself in the book that is coming out, which is really exciting, about her contact with Val Thor. So there's a very interesting link between Eisenhower, Val Thor, and some messages coming through there, which is really exciting in these kind of times. And so that's kind of it in a nutshell. I just share what I can, focused on the planetary consciousness and connecting in with that, and our divine blueprint, the Christophia divine template within, so that we can really see ourselves as co-creators of this experience, and look forward to our ability to advance ourselves in the face of adversity. Even though things are very, very difficult, how can we leverage this adversity in our favor so that we can thrive and we can grow and we can reclaim our lost treasures?
Yay. Love it. And Elena, I actually did meet you online. Like, I just started following you and got your book. And now you have this other book, which I'm going to do another interview just for that. So I'm really excited about that. But I feel like I've known you forever. It's just this crazy connection of just, it was instant. It was like just love. So But tell us about you so that maybe some of you who haven't got to meet with her can know a little bit about her background.
Yes, thank you. Well, it's true that the connection was like instant and like so easy. Like if we knew each other, it was awesome. Well, I was born in France, and where I lived a big part of my life. I moved a lot, and I became an archaeologist, and I worked in Egypt many years in different sites. I came back to France, work as an archaeologist there still a bit, and then decide to leave the system, the husband, the house, everything, and go to Ireland, where I'm living now, in a small fishing village on the western edge of the western most westerly point of Ireland, just reconnecting with the elements and nature. In fact, that's my official path. Then, behind the scenes, I was born with a very activated DNA from a maternal line of Baltic shaman women, and my grandmother taught me these things as I was a child, and when she passed, she continued teaching me from the other side, which was awesome. I studied druidry. I became a druidess, a Celtic priestess. And shaman, of course. I studied two lines of shamanism: the Sami Norse from my grandmother, from the island of Gotland in the Baltic Sea, and throughout my studies of Druidism, I studied the Celtic shamanism. So I learned about the both traditions, which are two different trends of the same path. I learned also when I was in Egypt, I had the opportunity to be initiated to Egyptian magic. I had done a degree on Egyptian religion, and once there, I just met researchers, and a lady was a director of research who was also into that, and she took me by the hand to the step further into the real, true understanding of true magic, and she initiated me in Dendera. So I know that was a great thing in my life. So that me with the magic things. But then I think something I don't speak about a lot, and because people don't ask me, and I have to say I don't mention it that much, because people know me about my contact experiences with extraterrestrials. I was abducted at the age of 9, rescued by Nordic beings, and kept contact with them. And I wrote now 2 books about it. And that's how people know me, so for my alien interactions. So, but that's me behind the scenes as well. So my alien interactions connected me to Laura, and through Laura, I connected to Dr. Charnell, and now to you girls. And I'm so excited.
Yes.
So that's me.
Well, I love your story. I love you, and I love what all of you are doing, every one of you. And I did this very strategically, very thoughtfully, to make sure that you guys were all connected, because I know each of you have your own podcasts and platforms to interview each other. But my background, in case someone's on here that doesn't know, I was in ministry forever too. I was also part of Montauk. So I came back from, Contact, ET stuff, MK Ultra stuff, had military background, with my father being in the military, traveled and was connected to some things that I had memories at the time, but we didn't have a place for that to land. It didn't make any sense. And so there's been, just some more bleed through over the years, to the point of having to actually face and look at these things My filter at the time of a lot of these things was just ministry. So I was saying, oh, well, this is what that was, and this is what that was, trying to only being able to see through that sifted view. But definitely, I ended up getting sick and looking through to get help, and through Western places weren't getting it. Went to the naturopathic side, felt lots of signs and miracles pointing to going back to get my doctorate. I had been, I had gotten all the undergraduate things and masters, and I thought I would get my doctorate in theology, but I ended up going into naturopathic school and got my ND and did my internship, and all for the sake of reverse engineering my own health, not to ever practice. I didn't see myself practicing. I've always been a teacher, and I did conference speaking for 17 years, 20 something years now. But so I was only getting the information that I thought to stand on a stage and teach masses of people, so we could connect back to our health, which would help our soul and our mind and our spirit. But I've always been very much into, time travel, the natural things of quantum physics, neuroscience, how that works with the body. And I was able to reverse engineer my health, and did have a practice for a while, moved it online, and was still traveling and teaching and writing books, did TV for 3 years. On actual TV, but then that wasn't the way anymore, and now we're all online and doing it this way and doing my practice online. But yes, to see the whole restored person is my position, my mission. But through truth and love are my mission, and the topic for today is about the divine femme energy. And so that is very much a part of truth and love. And in this discussion today, the first thing I'd like to just discuss is, for me, my name, which names and etymology and words are conscious things that create what we say matters. And my name actually means Sharna of God, or Charnell. Sharna means rose and warrior. El is Elohim, El of God. And, I think for the first, 30 some years, at least minimum, of my life, I majored in the warrior. It was fight, fight, fight. It was very masculine as far as the energy of feeling like I needed to protect myself, feeling I always had to fight, got married in combat boots, wore combat boots to my, when I graduated from everything, that's the only shoes I had, to be honest. I had like 6 to 10 pairs of different kinds of I was, and then it wasn't until I got sick that I realized that fight was messing with my chemistry of my brain. And maybe that's good for a season or a time for some people. If that's what you're supposed to be doing, then you'll have the energy and the backup for that chemically. But I had gotten way off balance. I had major missed out on the rose. And so the rose warrior, I was really looking into the rose, and, being married to the man of my love of my life. It's given me the ability to not only be able to relax and to chill and to remember my woman love, strength, without that need to protect or fight all the time, but to have that security. And it reversed my health. I've just remembered I am already secure. I'm already divine love. I don't have to get up and punch people and fight and I know how to shoot. I've been shooting since I was a kid. I got my guns, all of that, but also there's a balance. So let's talk about balance and how to balance in this season. I'll just start with Rani and go around. How do we do this? Because women, we have so many jobs. we're in the workforce, most of us, a lot of us. Now, a lot of it, I'm seeing that reversed. But, what does this look like, balance, for a female in this season?
Yeah, beautiful share. If it's okay, I'd love to share a little bit of how when we were all connected and destined in my journey into understanding that connection with the divine feminine, because it really, Leslie on one hand was holding me in hospital when I eventually went there. So I was in Destin 3 years ago. It's coming up again, guys. I want to come, but
Wow.
yeah, so I was there, and it was the last day I was meant to go home, and yet I was trembling on the floor and just 10 out of 10 pain from an ovarian cyst. And Charnell was there, and prayerfully we were doing breath work, and we were, trying to shift this thing, but I had to go to hospital, and it was a very scary thing. But I share this because, backtrack 1 year before, when I first discovered I had this ovarian cyst, was I went in hospital in this extreme pain, and the next day in New Zealand we had the Kaikoura earthquakes, and the whole earth was trembling, and I got these downloads from the divine about how connected our bodies are, or my body was, to Mama Earth. And this was really a massive beginning for me to have these downloads of this connection. And like you said, Sharnael, we have our lens of ministry or, Christianity and church that I had, and it was God, 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 so much masculine, a little bit of Holy Spirit being a little bit feminine, just tagged on the side. And so this was a massive shift for me. And I started having encounters with the divine feminine in my visions, and I didn't even know. I was like, who is this lady? And there was so much mystery around it. But this connection with my body, the ovaries, led me to become more open, to soften, to hear what and who the divine feminine was all about. So we're in Destin, and I'm trembling, and we go to hospital. Leslie holds me through a massive panic attack because I'm meant to be going on the plane home to my family. Anyway, fast forward, I was led to do a juice cleanse, a 30-day juice cleanse, to clear this toxic stuff, because our ovaries are to do with our creative center, and it was on my left side, my feminine side. So I was learning from Louise Hay the link between the two. In the simplicity of my understanding, I knew I had to get rid of some toxic thinking behind my femininity. And so I did the juice cleanse, but I also went in with the divine to do so much work around how I was suppressing my femininity. My mum is Fijian Indian and my dad is Kiwi. So Indians are very modest, cover your body, so much shame around my own body. Then the Christian aspect of, be a good woman, be modest, don't attract anyone to yourself. Like, that's all on you. So all this toxic thinking was what started to be healed at the time when I had ovarian cyst. And after 30 days, and I did a scan, and a 10 centimeter ovarian cyst was completely gone. And I am a different woman because I've done this work, and I have just cultivated this relationship with the divine feminine. And I love her, and I love doing life with God as both mother and father. And yeah, that's what I'll share on that, because then I'll pass on. But that was on my heart to share how I just came to embrace God as the divine feminine as well.
Love it. That was scary. That was one of the scariest things, but I'm so glad that it was used to give you something. This is for the world. What about you, Leslie?
Well, so when it comes to balance, this has actually came up in a couple of my recent client calls. So I'm like all over this stuff, right? Love it. Really quick, I'm going to kind of share really quick too, because we come from similar backgrounds, Rani and I. And so when I first got divine feminine, it was actually meditation and prayer. And I'm like, what's that? that's got to be like weird. Like, what is that thing? Because I was raised very much like, number one, the word divine was a trigger for me, like because of association and whatever. So I had a whole another issue with that, but I'm love now. I'm like, please tattoo the word divine on my body at this point. But so then I was also watching the Pyramid Code on Netflix at the time. And they start talking about the divine feminine and how in the Sumerian tablets, women owned businesses and they owned land. And I'm like, hold up, hang on a second. How did we go backwards? And so I went down this whole rabbit hole of really, because prior to this, I'd really cried out for truth. I was ready for all of my paradigms to be busted. I wanted truth more than I would in my belief system. I was done with whatever was happening and it wasn't working, so to speak. And so I was like, all right, give it to me and give it to me straight. Let's go. So I began exploring, okay, well, what's the divine feminine? And then I learned that Holy Spirit, which is Ruach in Hebrew, is divine feminine creative breath. And I was like, oh, and in the studies of the ancients, you find the feminine and masculine and both in almost every culture. And so I really also have been studying it a lot. I began looking at it a lot within my own life because I personally definitely had an overdeveloped masculine, so to speak. I've been working since I was 14, military father, boom, boom, boom. So I was very like, I can do this. And very much like Rani, like you're responsible for other people's thoughts, specifically the thoughts of men you're responsible for and things like that, which adjusting all of that and realizing, no, not really, not true, was a big deal. And I think with my clients, what we've really discussed is what I felt led to share with them was it's not really about balance so much as synchronicity and harmony. Because when you move in that harmony and you have the container of the structure of the masculine, the flow of the feminine is there, it's freed. And I have been working with clients who also really resonated. One had a very specific dream about the overdeveloped masculine and wounded feminine, because we can also have wounded aspects of the energies within our psyche and within the way that we hold in our cellular memory. And so the synchronicity looks like really evaluating for me with my clients. We kind of look at where they're on go and where they're super structured and where they're just, if you're going to say fight or flight, where you're just on, where are you on, and how are you spending most of your time there? And what is your true essence? Do you resonate with being a true feminine essence, or do you resonate with being a little bit more masculine? Because I do have people in my sphere that are women, fabulous women. They are more in the go, and their partner's more flow. He's a bit more of the flowy, and it's a really cool dance because it's in the synchronicity that they really work. And then so for them, the overdeveloped masculine, what we do is we then pull out practices and ways for them to anchor back into that feminine every day for a little bit more each day. And one of the things that they've really found profound is the amount of expansion, and me too, because I do all these things myself too. Like I love doing all the things. But they talk about just the freedom and the calmness that they feel when they are consciously stepping more into that feminine aspect of their energy. And they've allowed themselves, they don't have this pressure or the shame or the guilt that they should be doing it this way, like releasing the should and allowing the being and what that looks like in their life. And so I've been dancing with people in different tangibles to do. And that's kind of where we're at with just in my community. I really want to see the women develop a synchronicity and a harmony. And as they do, even their intuition is growing. They feel so much more connected to the divine, which the divine feminine, to me, we are the portals. We are, not only do we birth the beings, we literally bring spirits from another realm into this realm, like that in and of itself, like whoosh. But women are way more intuitive. And even in looking at the Egyptian cultures, I'm all about some Egypt and all Celtic and all the things, Elena, I was loving it. But when you study the art and you see how much they honored the women, and it was a matriarchy thing, which was not the opposite of patriarchy, but a synchronicity, an honoring. So yeah, I'll kind of pass that along, but that's where we're at.
Awesome. That's amazing. I love that. What you got, Laura? Oh, let me see. There we go.
Yeah. Well, balance. I mean, it's a work in progress. It's sort of an everyday kind of thing. I'm all about sort of the maintenance of our spiritual, physical, mental, emotional bodies. I think it's obvious when we're tending to the physical realm how to keep things, in balance or hygienic or tidy or organized to a certain degree. And some people don't really necessarily need that. So, I mean, that's, kind of up to the individual. Hopefully it's safe though and healthy environment and space, but we have to contend with these other aspects of ourself that can easily fall out of balance. And I feel that the matrix system is really set up to take our power, to disempower us, and for us to give our power away when we're feeling off, we're feeling unbalanced, we might be developing physical symptoms, whether that's mental or emotional or physical or spiritual. It's always seeming to be who's got the answers outside of oneself, what authority figure, what power structure, what industry has answers about that. And so to a certain degree, there's a great education there and something to be learned, but where does it really begin to override our own intuition and higher guidance? And I feel if we have too much dependency with the things that are external, we lose that connection to the point where even our intuition can almost atrophy. We can't hear our own thoughts. We get disconnected from our physical bodies when somebody's outside, that's weird. We get disconnected from ourself and our own soul out of the discomfort and the disempowerment that comes along with any kind of adversity or something that feels out of whack or out of balance. And I feel the more we enter a dialogue with these parts of ourselves, the closer we're going to get to ourselves. And so the story that you were telling, Rani, about the area in your body and how that related to the divine feminine was just what true healing is all about. Really understanding the energetic behind it, understanding the root of it, and engaging with it and creating enough of a dialogue where you shift the physical because the energetic has changed. And so I think for us to have balance, we have to strengthen that dialogue within ourselves and find a balance between what we take in from the outside and what we do within ourselves. And I think the inner work is number one, to set the foundation of being so close to your own truth frequency and authenticity that you can see through the deceptions and the lies, because there is a lot of trickery out there and a lot of people that are just out to, make money on our vulnerabilities. And I just feel we just need to check ourselves. The greatest way I feel that I kind of come back to balance is just being outside, being in nature, being around animals, walking around barefoot, paying attention to just the flowers and the trees and the elements. And that always brings me back to center. And so anything that's kind of lighting up, whether it's an anxiety, a stress, physical pain, or some kind of feeling of something doesn't feel right, is to just shut everything down, take the time to just take a deep breath and really feel into it, and use writing or creativity as a tool to unearth some of these maybe internalized things so that we can shed light on the unconscious, recognizing that our unconscious energy is multidimensional and it's filled with the vastness of our creative imagination. And for us to really find balance, we need to connect with our higher awareness and guidance and intuition enough for it to really infuse our creative channels with this great intention that can then manifest a reality that we'd like to see versus the one that we're being handed. And we can get very, very out of balance if we get pulled into the narratives and the social engineering and just all this, kind of mind control, to the point where people are losing this incredible relationship with the genius and wisdom that comes with facing these parts of ourselves that are calling for us to return to balance. So we have to not fear these things. We have to engage with it and get to know it. And then I feel we're really, kind of awakening. And of course, a lot of that involves the dark night of the soul, going into uncomfortable initiations and recognizing that the most difficult parts of it are temporary. But if we can breathe through it, if we can purge, release, and allow ourselves to, kind of journey through it, we're that much lighter. And the detoxing process is not just on a physical level. We need to make sure we cry when we need to cry and detox our emotional bodies, that when we're angry, we look at the passion behind it so we can direct that fire energy into something productive so that we can balance our inner elementals and not repress it, not judge it, not hold on to things, and realize that we are earth, air, fire, water, ether. And sometimes it's going to be monsoon season, and to allow yourself to just really feel, because you got to feel it to heal it.
That is so good and so true. I love that monsoon season. I've had a few. I think we all have had a few. And you know what? And on a science level, there are some things that will not detox through a juice cleanse. They're not going to, it won't juicing or sauna or whatever. Some things will only detox through tears, believe it or not. And yet the program is don't cry, or give you something to cry about, or be strong, or toughen up, or, you know, whether it's male or female, tears literally are a detox. And so I'm glad you brought that up, especially with the energies that have been so, you know, right now, you know, just to you know, do our best to stay in the middle, especially any of us in public. You know, with just being out there and then having the onslaught of whatever. It's like, it's okay, cry in the shower, get outside, let it go, do whatever. But yeah, that's amazing, Laura. Thank you for that. Elena, what you got?
Well, I listened to you all, and it's all about, you are talking about balance, Charnel. I think balance, the true balance is not a state of stillness, it's a state of movement. Balance is a dance, it's a dialogue, it's an exchange of energy, it's a flow. It's and silence, if you want, silence is stillness, and stillness is equal to perfection. Perfection is death. There's no movement in perfection. The exchange, the balance must not be totally perfect, because when it's perfect, everything stopped and we don't evolve. You need always an exchange, a dialogue, bounce way and back, masculine, feminine, and to the both polarity, and this creates a dance. It's the two coils of a DNA. It's the two serpent of your kundalini just dancing together and creating this equidistant, balanced movement of masculine and feminine. And to me, that's how it needs to be. In the ancient traditions, the darkness and the chaos was always present, not as an enemy, but as an actor in the creation of the universe. Chaos is necessary for the dynamics between creation and death to exist. And this dynamics creates life, creates energy. And that's what's happening in our beings. We have this polarity. We are polarized beings, masculine, feminine. We are polarized. We are human souls. Human souls are polarized. And that it pleased to certain people or not, we have both. We are and masculine and feminine. And it's not about the masculine, the feminine, like being like, you know, the super feminist, yeah, I'll kill all the men, blah blah blah, and all the patriarchal guys, yeah, kill all the women, blah blah. That's not the point. The point is to empower each other. Yes. And to dance together.
Yes.
You know, it's not about I'm better than you. It's about I'm better in myself, in representing what I am, a male or a female. I'm going to do my best to be a pure male, or I'm going to do my best to be a pure female. And when you reach out to the best in yourself, that's when you are equal to the other. And that's when you become more in tune with your higher self. And that's why equality in balance it's not in competition, but it's in a dance of empowerment of each other. And this dance, it's the alchemy, the masculine and the feminine, this sacred marriage, and it creates the child of light, the gold, by the marriage of the two polarities. And that's where our true power is. That's what the Christian religion has tried to not the prophets, but the church, the institution, the Roman Empire wanted to take the human power away by dissociating the masculine and the feminine, for us not to be able anymore to create to ignite our power. So the easiest to devilize was the woman side, the feminine. So they just crushed it, and they all did this myth, invented this myth of this myth, the myth of Adam and Eve. that's more than that. That's an alchemical initiatic story. It's the masculine and feminine. This is the two coils. The tree of life is a shamanic tree. It's the DNA, and it's the two coil of the DNA. And say the serpent. It's not an evil snake. It's the Kundalini. It's the knowledge. And when you access to this knowledge by the marriage of the both, well, that's great. And that's what. So where we are now, where we're trying to get back to it, because we're understanding it. So
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and I like how you said that it's a conversation, because I'm blessed to have an amazing divine partner, and it took me a minute to get there. I had some bad choices in between, but I'm back, and it was about loving myself. But on a chemical neuroscience level, the man brain versus the female brain is very, very different. And we as women are multitaskers, and we're able to use lots of our brain at once, versus a guy who can maybe just have like one window open, or maybe two at a time, without completely, going crazy. But unless they're brought up in music or something where they've exercised that in the earlier years before the brain is completely formed, that dualistic support of both sides isn't there, which I think that's part of the junk DNA situation that Laura and so many of us talk about. It's like, I think some of that's missing too, because just imagine we all had all of it. That would be amazing. And that gives us the ability to strive for more, number one, but also those conversations like Elena was talking about. I mean, there are times where I'm, in bed or whatever, or in the car, and I have like 99 things going on in my brain of being everywhere, thinking everything, and not able to just chill out and relax because all of this is going on, multitasking. As women, we can cook dinner, be on the phone, be doing an iPad, a podcast, and, doing our grocery list all at the same time, and, easy. Where, if we're in the car with some guys, they'd be like, turn down the radio just to hear what you're saying. And like, can't you just talk while the radio's on? Why did you turn the radio down? It's like, because I'm listening. And I'm like, I can listen and talk at the same time. You can't. But what good thing about it is when I'm in that, like, 50 things going on and I'm not able to sleep, a guy could be, in the middle of all that, and he could sleep easy because it's just that one window. It's like turned, so all the windows are not even able to come up. So it's like sleep time or eat time or whatever, and no other windows, where I got literally 14 windows open even on my computer right now and navigate all the time. So sometimes in that conversation, Elena, I'll be like, Brian can pick up and say like, what is going on with you? Like, he could just see it on my face or feel it in my energy. And I'm like, well, I'm thinking about this. And he'll be like, stop. Or sometimes he won't even ask. He just looks at me and he like grabs me and he's like, okay, stop. And he helps me like shut down the windows to be present in now, and like not be worrying about 15 steps ahead or before, or what's to do tomorrow, or, you know what I mean? So chemically, there's that conversation where there is such a help in in that too. But on the same side, we can help too, of being like, you need to think bigger. I invite you to have more empathy. That's given us an ability to empathize and have compassion with all that multitasking going on different levels, a bigger picture of things. But going back to what everyone had mentioned a little bit on with, things taken away, emerald tablets, scriptures, holy books, what have you. There was a song that came out, what if God is a woman? I don't know, a few years back. And at the time, that was like a trigger for me, Leslie, when you were talking about the divine. And I was like, what is she talking about? It's like, this is a long time ago. But I actually looked in just the Bible, and it caused me to search. Not everybody would, but I did. And I'm like, oh my God, everywhere it says God, it says God isn't a man. It says he, she, they, them. Which, he's not confused. God isn't confused, but God doesn't have a gender. And I looked and looked and looked, unless it was Jesus, who's a man. Everything else is he, she, it, they, them, which is interesting because everyone's doing their pronouns on their Instagrams now. It's like he, she, they, that. Maybe there's something to that. But, that, and also with scalar waves, Jesus scored the highest on any planet, not any planet, on this planet. He scored the highest in scalar waves, and 1,000. No one bats over 1,000 so far on the planet, except for Mary Magdalene, which blew me away. I was just like so excited, and I've studied her forever. I know Laura and all of you have studied her, and I read a book years ago on her from a Harvard grad who had studied her for 35 years, and I cried. I wept because I was like, God, why isn't this being taught? It was just so much information of just the amazingness of this twin flame connection, this real thing that has been taken away from a lot of books. So talk a little bit about why the suppression, and or what have you found in your things that have been suppressed, and or your truths that you have found in the midst of this that have helped you. I'll start with Rani.
Yes, I think we all read the same book, or we have been reading the same books too. So really started with me having this physical thing in my body, and then that led me on a journey. It opened up so many questions. And that's the beauty of, if you're listening today and you've been close to the divine feminine, and because we've been so conditioned that God is just masculine, my invitation into the feminine is just to soften. Let it be okay that you may not know something right now, but that's the feminine, is to soften and go, I don't have all the answers, but can I be curious in this moment? And that's where, Holy Spirit, the divine, can start to bring things to us, because otherwise we're shielding, right? And that was me. I didn't receive any of the stuff beforehand because my conditioning said, no, that's not okay. That must be, not okay. So that was the major thing, is taking those shackles off. And then honestly, this stuff just came. To be honest, I think, Elena, I actually did hear you, and Laura's was doing some women's circle roundtable, things. I don't know if you're still doing them, but I actually was really enjoying those last year. And, because I softened and opened and was willing to learn and receive more, I have been able to receive and to listen. And that's also the feminine, just to feel, right, and listen with our heart. So the big, scary, Christian overbearing, lie has been, only read the Bible and only trust what's there. And if it doesn't line up, well, then you need to throw it out and pretty much demonize it, tell other people not to. Well, I let go of that when I leaned into the divine feminine, and I said, I trust God in me. I trust Spirit in me. Wisdom, Sophia, Mama God, lead me into all truth. And so now I listen and I read and I absorb things, and I don't, make them all my beliefs. I just feel, and I let them simmer and marinate. And I think that's so much of the beauty of the feminine is, like, you know, we've got this beauty of masculine structure and form, but the beauty of the feminine is that soft fluidity and flow and being able to open and receive.
Awesome. That's true. It's just having the courage to look behind the curtain and be okay. And you don't have to take everything, but just to look. What's wrong with looking? Go ahead, Leslie.
Yeah. So when I really began, I've always been like a truth seeker. And so when I really began sitting and asking to be shown and allowing my heart to soften majorly, massively, it was a big shift for me, huge. And when I began to look that in my upbringing, similar to Rani's, 2 + 2 didn't equal 4. And I was noticing all the places that weren't. And when I was asking questions, I was actually told you shouldn't be asking questions. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, that's a little weird, you know, because if you were asking a question, then you didn't have faith. That's the way it was translated to me, which I knew was false. And I just felt so connected to God in my heart that I had more faith of being led than fear of being deceived. And I began to really, so in terms of like, what things did you find that were suppressed or hidden? Whew, that's a long list. That's a big one. Mm-hmm. For me, within my own, it was my own heart. I was suppressing my own heart and my own emotions. Externally, it was, I didn't want to hear, kind of like Rani, we didn't talk about anything, read anything. The devil's going to get you, etc. And then when you actually get, you know, curious enough to look at the history, and it's like I've also shared with, like my parents, for example, you know, 60 years ago, people didn't have access to the information that they have access to now. And so it's okay to ask and to look and to ask to be led. I love asking to be divinely led into all truth. That's like, I love it. It just, because I always find new treasures, like new things that I would have never imagined or never been okay with like 10 years ago, which is always really fun. And I don't take on every single thing, but even just broadening the horizons, but knowing who you are in your heart and being in touch with that and allowing a lot of the healing and the balance of, or the dance and synchronicity of everything to sink in. It takes a lot of courage and humility to admit that you don't have it all figured out. Like a lot, especially if you're going to have to, you know, it's going to, in my case, affect everyone around me, you know, depending on what you're doing and where you live and all that kind of thing. So I got brave enough to read and to ask questions where I saw it wasn't adding up. And I just have complete trust in God. And that's kind of where I landed.
I love it. Yes. I think still goes back to what we're saying is not being afraid to look, to be curious. I got to give a shout out to Dr. Whip. He's on here. I just want to say, hey, Whip. Go ahead, Laura.
Yeah, awesome. I would say, you know, curiosity is just such an important thing, and just not stopping until, you know, you just feel that, you know, connecting point. It's sort of like kinesiology. Your body's wisdom knows what it sort of needs. So I feel like the quest for truth is very similar. The curiosity doesn't seem to be really appeased until there's like a breakthrough or an epiphany or a revelation. And it doesn't mean that one has all the answers either. So there's that need to, you know, embrace the mysteries as well. But I think when I was just doing, you know, research, I mean, the Sophia Magdalene energy was always coming through as a kid, and how that relates to the planetary grid system, the planetary consciousness and stargates. And I'm like, there's so much more to this story than what I know they're teaching in religions. And there's just a huge piece of all of this that is missing. You know, we don't learn galactic history in our schools. We learn a lot of dead sciences, and there's just limitation everywhere, and not like a full picture. So I was kind of relying on a lot of downloads coming in that were informing me. And then I would find books or things that sort of validated it or backed it up. And one of the books that really stood out to me was by Caitlin Matthews, called The Goddess Sophia. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. And what I found very interesting is this particular quote that was being sort of channeled from the Christ light. It says, they say I came for all, but in truth, I came for her who came for all. For it had come to pass that there were those who had lost their way, lacking in spark, could not return into the fullness. Seeing this, she came unto them, giving her life to the depths of matter. And in truth, she did suffer and become blind. But our Father, sensing her anguish, sent me forth, being of him, so that she might see and we be as one again. Though they see it not, it is she, the tender mother of mercy, who is the great Redeemer. And so I just found that so interesting, and it really just struck a chord. And I remember I would bring it into presentations and I wouldn't be able to actually say it without getting choked up. And I think this is very much the template of the divine masculine and feminine within ourselves, that we support that womb, that ability to birth, the ability to consciously decide what we're going to give birth to. And that if we can have clarity of mind and be connected to our higher self, those seeds can be planted in the womb to produce life. And so just the path of, Magdalene, the way the planetary consciousness was formed from the unconditional love of the mother in order to help souls return home after all these galactic wars, hybridization, and manipulations of incarnate consciousness that has made it so difficult for people to be connected to true God source. This whole other journey comes in that involves going into the underworlds, that involves sort of these mythologies where you see Persephone get abducted by Hades, or Inanna going into the 7 gates of the underworld, or the Magdalene energy, and how that relates to the Venus transits and Sophia's correction, and the reclamation of the pentagram being upright again, so that we can connect to the ether, the quintessence, so that our inner elementals are purified, the nucleic acids of our DNA are purified. Then we become Christed beings. And it's through this recognition of the feminine that has been so distorted, so vilified, so misunderstood, so blamed upon, that, we've lost that connection with ourselves. And we've been dealing with, sub-personalities and program versions and distortions that have led to a lot of addictive behaviors, or a lot of unconscious depression, a lot of traumas that people don't fully understand, because we don't fully get the nature of this level of theft and disconnect from nature and the true history that is really a story of us. And to recapture that story is also to rebuild our true DNA architecture and template of the Diamond Sun embodied self, which is connected to the zodiac, which is connected to the planetary grid network as well. So just digging real deep and seeing just that we're all built from this. And like you were talking about, Elena, the integration of polarity that creates conception to birth that magical child is our divine inheritance to reclaim, so that we can move in this time of human advancement with the earth energies into a higher expression of it, where the earth responds to us because we've taken it upon ourselves to do this purification. And if we can purify our own inner elements, I feel that the earth has no choice but to respond to us. And if we can embrace and connect with the unconditional love of the mother who formed this planetary body to help us to remember ourselves and return home, I feel like that reunion of mother-child is that nurturing frequency that can help us to pretty much overcome everything and connect to the true light of the Christ light, which is not the patriarchal version, not the false king of tyranny archetype, and all the stuff that we've been receiving from the Saturn moon matrix manipulations and programs. And that this deprogramming process that we're in is restoring the true love story of creation that we can participate in and experience that ability to thrive, because we know when we're in happy relationships and we feel loved and supported, we're happy, we're thriving. And when we, connect with our children and give them the unconditional love that they need in times of stress or strife, they come to, I mean, it's just, the energy is everything. And to me, the greatest sound healing vibration is that of, true, authentic love. And this is what we're returning to. And I've noticed a lot of distorted text. So I was always willing to question things that didn't feel right. Even if somebody would maybe be offended by it, like, what, you're questioning this? How can you question this ancient document? I'm like, well, because a lot of them have been distorted and been rewritten in favor of a particular agenda. And so I just think that we have to really honor that internal truth that likes to get our attention and say, wait a second, think again. Just like maybe go to a doctor for a second opinion, or explore the self to the point where you're going to find these answers, because we're holding sacred space for wisdom to flow.
So true. Love it. Yes. Elena.
Yeah, you were asking. I love that, Laura. It was amazing. Yeah, you asked Charnel what was my like. Wait for a minute. Wait for a moment. Moment. That was when I entered. I entered school. I think it was 11 years old. Until then, I had been raised by my grandmother, who taught me everything about the divine feminine, telling that our bloodline, maternal bloodline, it was only women who were passing that, funnily jumping a generation. Well, it was activated all along in the DNA, but one generation on two wasn't activating it. You know what I mean? And so it was from grandmother to granddaughter. So she was teaching me about feminine energies and connecting to the universe and the nature and journey inside, things like this. And then when I was 11, my parents, who were not activate at all, certainly not my father was very religious, they decided that to give me a good education, they would put me in a private school run by nuns.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, talk about the divine feminine, just bribed, crushed. So I found myself brutally in that universe. And the first weeks we had a religion course, and the priest hated me because I was always asking the wrong questions, like, yeah, but science can prove that. On the first weeks, a nun who was doing the course said, now she was talking very sweetly to all the little girls. Now she said, everything you've learned until now, what your parents have told you, it's in a cupboard. So it's all there on the shelves, all what your parents told you. Now you're going to close your eyes and you're going to empty the cupboard, empty all the shelves. Go on, girls, empty the shelves inside. So then I saw red flag. I went, that's not right. What this is telling me that everything my parent taught me is wrong. Wait for it. And then she said, now, is the cupboard empty? Now, you are going to fill the cupboard now with what I am going to teach you about Jesus and the church and blah, blah, blah. And I was 11, but in front of my eyes, in my vision, I saw the letters cult in red. I went, nope, not going there, not for me, sorry. And I went home. I said that my granny was furious, my mother as well, actually. So from that moment, I decided to become atheist, to believe in absolutely nothing that I would be told, and it is by experiencing paranormal and going back by the other door, learning about Egyptian magic and druidry and etc. all along my life, that I got back into spirituality, but from my own experience. And then what was my own experience telling me? That there is no masculine predominant divinity. There is no feminine prominent divinity. There's just the divine, and it's everywhere, and it's an energy that flows everywhere, and everything is conscious, animate with consciousness, but also there's this masculine and feminine. So that's how I got back to it. And so that's my path of saying, wait a minute, and then going back to it in a different way, connected way. Well, I wanted to tell about something. We have both masculine and feminine polarities, right? But I'm going to speak about us women. It's not as comparing us to men, it's comparing us to ourselves. It's not a competition, but we need to embrace our divine feminine. But in order to embrace the divine feminine, we must be at peace with our divine masculine. It's the same for men. They need to embrace their divine masculine and be at peace with their divine feminine inside.
Yeah.
But to embrace our polarity of incarnation, we need to give love and heal the other side, the other polarity, that it is not bothering us, it is not fighting it, and it is not stopping us to blossom in our womanhood. We need to say, okay, what's the story with my masculine side? Have I experienced the warrior? Have I not? Where am I? And we need to explore this masculine and be at peace with it and know exactly where it is and how it is, and it's clear, and then we can just embrace our femininity. And that's something I thought important to say.
That's really good, and I was going to bring that up too, and that'll be our last question, because I know Laura has another appointment, and you guys have your things. Everyone's got things to do.
And if I do jump off, I just want to say thank you, everybody, and thank you, Dr. Charnell. So I'm going to have to jump off in a sec, but keep going.
Okay, awesome. I was just going to say that there was a study done in the early 90s with elephants. I don't know if some of you are familiar, but I taught about this because, yes, it is within ourselves, and everything within us. There's mirrors in the external and in life and on the planet. But there was a group in Africa that had these older elephants that were kind of getting too old, and so they had lifted them up in helicopters and brought them to a refuge to take better care of them and just sort of keep an eye on them and what have you in like a refuge setting. Well, what they noticed is wherever they were taken from, the groups of the elephants that remained, the females started having multiple partners, and normally it's just like one for life kind of deal. And the teenagers were doing the same, and having sex way earlier. And they were also fighting with one another. And they're normally plant eaters, but they were attacking humans and other animals in groups, tribes of gangs of male and female elephants, specifically male, and they would go after like a lion and kill it, or and never had they seen them kill anything, because there's no need to kill anything, because they just eat off the trees or whatever. So they started tracking them down and testing their hormones, and their hormones were way off, like really high levels of testosterone were just off the chart. And someone came up with the idea of bringing the elephants back just to see what would happen. So they brought the elders back, the male elders, and they put them back in there. And within 2 weeks, I believe it was 2 weeks, they retested everyone, and all of the hormones had balanced, both in the female and the male. And the fighting stopped, the carnage stopped, the blood stopped, the war stopped, because there was harmony again. There was this balance. And I was like, wow, this is in the early 90s. I was like, I mean, this is literally happening, amongst men and women and people. And, you think of like the gangs and what have you, and so many families growing up in single situations, single mom type situations, or never even, getting married, if whatever marriage is, and not having that male role in there. And the physical testosterone in the field that balanced, not in an overproduction, it allowed the field, an exchange in the field of the elephants allowed their bodies, their physical bodies, not to have to overcompensate, because it was in the field that they were exchanging. And same with the females, is they required that, so they weren't over processing. So when we're on this panel today and we're talking about the importance of the divine femme, we are never saying we're better, like everyone has said, that we are the best. I have seen, you know, the overcompensation in women, like several of you have mentioned, where it's like, okay, you know, it's time for us to stop being suppressed. So that means every one of you have to die, or, you know, whatever. It's like equal pay means you get no jobs, or, you know, there's this, again, it goes back to balance, where everyone is enjoying and celebrating each other in our authenticity of what we were created to do in our own. And it doesn't make women better or men better. It just makes us, with the invitation to celebrate who we are within, balanced, and also in the earth, balance, of just being excited for everybody who is doing their thing, you know. And so do you guys care to speak about that a little bit, and then we'll wrap up?
Maybe. Okay, Rani. Okay, well, I have something to, oh, there's an echo. I hear myself. I don't know if, yeah, that's better now. No, I still hear myself. That's weird.
Let me see.
Yes, 1 2 1 2. Now I'm fine now. I'm fine. Yes. Okay. So I want to say something. I think it's extremely important, and it's times when we are really honest, and I'm not scared to offend anyone. I think the dark ones have part of their many agendas, many parts of the same agenda, in fact, is to take the power away from human race. One of these tools, their plans, is to confuse human race with this polarity, with the genders. And the gender confusion program has been working damn well to take away from men their masculinity, and to take away from women their womanhood, their divine feminine power. And that has been going on, and it has been very well done, and very well manipulated, creating groups and minority, dividing people, you know, all the LGBT groups and stuff. I mean, it's not the moment to be separate, to separate ourselves in groups. We are one species, and we're all humans, and we don't care what others want, their sexual preferences. If they want to think they're this or that, fine, it's fine. We need to stop first fighting over it. We are being manipulated if we do that. But that's something there is something that is more severe, is that men are being taken away their masculinity. Like, it's well seen socially if a man is going to dress up as a woman, or being confused, or being start to mimic femininity, or things like that. And will be well seen socially if a woman does the contrary, like be dress up like a man, make herself ugly, like remove anything that is feminine. And that is, and saying, oh, you're not allowed to say she or he or mother and father. What the hell? You cannot say mother and father? But that's evil. And they put that in the heads of the kids. Oh, you're not a boy, you're not a girl, you're something you're something weird, but you're certainly not a boy, certainly not a girl. I mean, how can you do that to a child? A child needs to learn about polarity, about the father figure, the mother figure. It's basic psychology. That's evil. So I wanted to bring that up, because that's important. That's very important. You know who you are. And I think, as much as there's a program of bringing back the divine feminine in all its power and wisdom, we need also not to forget about the guys who are just, balls cut by the government and stuff, all this agenda. So I want to mention that. That's it.
It's a lot, and it's all on like TikTok and all the social. I mean, the kids are starting so young and putting, like I said, putting it in the their minds, and it's trendy, and using minions of celebrities and what have you to do this whole binary whatever. It's so, but you know what, hormones can change and be disrupted by chemicals too. So detoxing the home is huge, because you can be extremely off balance. They've done all this stuff for years and years and years with frogs and other animals who all of a sudden got confused. You don't see animals get confused about this stuff, but when they were chemically front loaded, all of a sudden there was confusion. And think about all the stuff that's in the cleaning supplies and the Febrezes and the plugins and the candles and the shampoos and the soaps. They are, and the chemtrails. And now with this stuff, it's definitely causing more confusion, if there wasn't already, the programming of all the, Mockingbird TV, social media, celebrity, sports, all of it, music. Oh my God, don't get me started. So, but yeah, Leslie, Rainey, you guys have anything? She's laughing. No, you have nothing to say. That's Guinness Book of World Records. Leslie doesn't
go on any topic.
I'm just reinforcing what everyone else says, but that's truly my heart, and my heart for heaven on earth, for empowering humanity to remember who we are as divine beings of light, is for us to fully drop into our feminine or our masculine. And as I've dropped into my feminine, it's enabled and empowered my husband to really be more in his masculine, right? Because I'm just letting him be more. And as I'm more receptive and receiving and flowing, that structure and that balance and that strength and protection, it's highlighted, it's like it's amplified and it's beautiful. And so for our children, we have 3 children. For me, it's being strong in who I am, as you said. They get to see that. They get the energy of that. They get my hormones emitting every month on a cycle, some up, some down. They get to see that. And, I think that's how we show up in our world to bring this balance, is to just be in our femininity, or if you're a male, be in your masculinity, and just emanate that vibration to your family, to the people around you, because without even speaking about it, people are getting our vibration of what we're really dropped into. So it's that beautiful marriage, that honor, that heaven on earth coming together, masculine, feminine, yumminess.
And you're sure you don't have anything to say, Leslie?
Well, I was laughing because you said something about the music. Like, don't get me started. But I will say this for women who feel like they're intrigued by this concept, that they're like, well, I want to be more feminine, but I have so much work to do. Play with music. Find a nice song. Dance around the kitchen while you're cooking. Just let yourself take an exhale and just kind of move your body a little bit, and kind of ask to be shown how to just get back to the flow. You can even dance in your car. I'm a big dancer. I dance all the time. Dance in your car. But it's not far-fetched. It's who you created to be naturally. It's who we really are. And it's these little nuggets that you hear from people like Dr. Charnell and everybody, that you get to say, oh, I want to play with that. I want to see what that feels like. And feel into your body and feel the release where you were contracted. Because when you're really in that feminine, you'll feel a lot less contracted and a lot less tense. And if you just kind of want a starting point to play with it, play with music. 40 song, but a song you can kind of sway to, move to, just do your thing. So there's a little fun tip.
Awesome. Well, we are going to wrap up, but if you could please tell us how we can find you, and that way everyone can continue the conversation with all of you guys' great work and get connected with all of your platforms and what have you. Rainey?
All right. Yes, you can just find me on Facebook, Instagram. My website is all linked there, but harmonichealth.nz. I would love to connect with you. I just enjoy just being in like-minded community. It's imperative right now, eh? Thank you. Such an honor, such a joy to be having this conversation. It lights me up so massively.
Yes, yay, yes. All right, Leslie, Elena.
Okay, well, you can join me. You can know everything about what I'm doing on my website, elenadanaan.org, O-R-G, and also follow my YouTube channel where I put all my tutorial videos for meditation, empowerment, self-empowerment, plenty of Q&As and goodies. So that's where you can find me.
Thank you.
You can find me on Instagram at thelesliedavis.com. Leslie Davis was not available. And or at the Leslie Davis on Instagram, and then thelesliedavis.com is the website.
All right. And you can go to swiftfire.org. You guys go to swiftfire.org. Please get on the newsletter. That's the best way. You can see all my resources, a lot of videos that I won't put out anywhere because they get taken down anyway, and lots of resources. I do my remote biofeedback, so I can, no matter where you are, we can diagnose and see what's going on, and also send you frequencies to get you balanced. Books, classes, workshops, everything is on swiftfire.org, and you can check that out today. But love you guys so much, and so thankful for every bit of life and love that you brought to this great panel today. And for everyone who's watching, we love you. And we are all collectively sending all of you love and your highest and miracles. And just know that when we are here, we're here for you. And that's why we do this, is because we care about you. We love you. And we are excited for your upgrades and your miracles and your highest and your balance in this. So keep on shining, keep on being you. And I'll be talking to each one of you again here soon. And thank you so much for everything and for being your service to what you guys are doing for this planet in the middle of all of this. It's been a beautiful thing to see you guys and to work with you guys. I love you so much. Bye, guys. Bye, everybody.